Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat.
Good morning. This is Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And my guest this morning is Mr. Kirthi Tenakon, the Executive Director of HAFI. Good morning.
Good morning, Fran.
How are you?
Doing really
and,
well.
You had a long day.
It's a very long day yesterday, I'll say.
First things first, what has prompted you, what has aroused your conscience? Why have you filed this action trying to prevent the Governor of the Central Bank from being offered a new contract?
For us, we were watching this treasury bond scam for a very long time now. We have gone through all the possible avenues to address this issue on the sake of the nation, to the best interest of the country.
Yeah.
But we have failed. The Bribery and Corruption Commission started investigation on this, and then the Attorney General's department had an investigation on this. Then the COP, Dave Gunasekar, had interim report prepared, but then the parliament got dissolved, and there were so many such other issues came on, and this controversy keep on happening. And we know the second bond issue now cost Sri Lanka unbelievable amount of money, and the Central Bank of Sri Lanka is loss making now, and this trend is going keep on continuing, and abuse of power, and this Singaporean citizen is doing unbelievable damage to the economy of this country, and we have to sort it out with the framework of the law framework of the country.
Yeah. So several issues come to mind here. There is no rule, or is there, as to the nationality of the Governor of the Central Bank?
Definitely, yes. From the very beginning, we knew that he is a Singaporean citizen, which is a country, whereas a country, the dual citizenship is not allowed. But when
even in the United Kingdom, we had a governor, the head of the Bank of England, was a Canadian.
It could be a different issue, but in this Arjuna Mahendran's case, when first the experts raised this particular issue, he was told to the president that I will apply for the dual citizenship, which he has failed to do for last 17 months. That's
because there's no agreement between Singapore and Sri Lanka to
On the other hand, all the public officers in Sri Lanka who paid by the government coffins has to get affidavit signed saying under the section 165 that he is helping the sovereignty of the country, and this cannot done to a Singaporean citizen. And moreover, what else can't we find a Sri Lankan to handle the case of Sri Lankan economy for that matter?
So, you basically, your organization, your conscience has been aroused because of what you all say is the loss of a vast amount of money.
Definitely, it's a loss of a huge amount of money. In the other hand, we are having more concerned issues. The abuse of powers. It was now this man is centralized with the two bond scams. Number two, he has abused his powers as the governor and the chairman of the monetary board in an immense way. Number one, we have filed actions. We have continuously complained that we are having credible information related to the Lanka Putra Development Bank. He tried to save the face of the chairman down there in a very unethical way, which has raised many people's eyebrows. In the other hand, now, last week, the cabinet has given approval to get a consolidated fund, loans for Sri Lankan government. One of the proposed names as the facilitators for such loan is the Swiss credit company,
Credit Suisse,
which just according to the Arjuna Mahendra's biodata, he has worked with, and still some people believe he is having a huge
connection. So
connection.
what you're saying is that you are alleging some sort of a nexus there, between a link of some sort which is not healthy. Is that what you're saying?
It's definitely, its link is not healthy, and moreover we have seen conflict of interest from Arjuna Mahendra's face in 2-3 different areas. First he plays with his son-in-law on the bond scam, and then he showed the conflict of interest when he is dealing with the Lanka Development Bank, now with the Credit Suisse.
Perhaps we need to make it clear that when you refer to it as a scam, of course, we need to have a conclusive inquiry to establish those facts. So,
on the first issue of the bond issue, for the first bond issue, I will say, has having a vast information on our hand. In the other way, when it comes to the second one, of course, everyone know that they try to destroy some of the very sensitive informations last week, and then some of the whistleblowers came out, and they leaked some of this information. I think, thanking to the whistleblowers, we are having some considerable amount of information on this case now to prove that there something very serious has gone wrong.
How dangerous is it for whistleblowers? You've been personally the subject of at least two attacks during your career. I've had my own experience. So how dangerous is it for whistleblowers today in Sri Lanka?
For us, one thing we have managed to change, or we have successfully changed from January 8th, is that there were less underground people who was playing with the lives of the people. And in the other hand, there's an unbelievable amount of openness has come to the society. You cannot hide anything anymore from this society. If you are doing something unethical, if you are doing something not in parallel with the lines of the law of the country. And I think the people who really concerned about the national interest is always coming out as whistleblowers and try to protect the national interest, which is a very good sign, I'll say.
So yes, that is very good. Of course, we have to acknowledge that this sort of,
and we are encouraging it.
Yes, and this veil of fear or doubt that existed in the past is simply not there anymore. So we must call a spade, and so yes, we acknowledge that. But back to the question. It's a vexed question, the question of the appointment of the governor of the central bank. What I want to ask you about your thoughts, Kirthi, is we have the executive president of this country, a man who has been elected with a clear mandate and a clear victory over the previous president. And the president of the country has kept, the way I see it, has kept to his side of the bargain when it's a national consensus government. So he's agreed that the UNP with Ranil Wickremesinghe and several other organizations and political parties will form the day-to-day running of the government. So when the president says to him that, or he observes that the governor of the central bank, that issue is actually detrimental to the prime minister's fortunes, political and otherwise, I suppose, it also has an impact on the president himself, because this is a national government.
He has already made his view very openly.
Yes,
he once said,
yes, but
I think he is not fit for the job, referring to Arjuna Mahendra.
Yes.
I think he is sticking into that particular point. Is he fit for the job now?
Yes.
Is our question.
You had a meeting, you were part of the group that had a meeting with both a joint President, Prime Minister and of various organizations. What did the President say at that meeting?
Faraz, I mean, it was very interesting. We were called for a meeting with the President and the Prime Minister together to talk about the Treasury bond and other political sensitive issues.
Yeah.
But almost for 1 hour, in our side, we were raising this issue in a different ways, in different, in forms about the central bank governor.
Yeah.
And the only mentioning came on the Prime Minister side is that I will sort it out with the President. And half of the way the Prime Minister walked out of the meeting saying that he has to attend another important meeting.
Yeah.
And but here there were something like 17 people from the civil society who most of the town had a very contributory work during the January 8th victory. And the other hand, we were continuously pointing out that something has to be done on the credibility issue of the central bank governor. His credibility is lost now. Everyone, even a tricycle driver, you just walk into the polar, you will find out everyone is talking about something. There's something wrong with the central bank, their issue, and that credibility has gone down there. And continuous investigations started on this particular case has dropped, and no results has been come out. So there's a issue with the President's hands to address this issue. His body language, the way I read it, is very positive. I think.
But what did he say in terms of words? What did he say?
He said at the very end of the meeting, I have made my point long time ago, even before you made it. I am still believing. So we are still believing that he will do his job when the time most necessary.
But in life, there are many things that only comes with experience and a track record. So in this case, the track record is that even though the President of the country, who holds ultimate power in his hands, even though he advised the Prime Minister to rid himself of this problem by asking the governor to step down and so on, the Prime Minister chose to ignore him. So based on that track record, how confident should the public be that the Prime Minister will this time round actually perhaps recommend somebody else?
Faraz, you are coming to a very interesting point. That track record never shows that, at that time the UNP was intact, but in this particular case, especially on the issue of Archana Mahendra, UNP parliamentarians and the ordinary UNP supporters are not intact. Everyone sees that there is an issue. Even some of the ministers who was very openly says that, we have to have who try to show some sort of support towards the Arjun Mahendran. But when we are talking to them personally, they said totally a different story, because everyone knew that the credibility lost is credibility lost, and it needs so much of homework with a credible information and credible investigation to make up the damage or cover the damage. But in this case, the damage is already done. We know the credibility is lost.
I'm forced to remember the expectations of John Exter, the person credited with setting up the Central Bank of Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. In there, one of the requirements that John Exter calls for of the potential governor of the Central Bank is a requirement, an urging that the person who will be the governor of the central bank should be of, and I quote, unquestioned integrity, unquote, unquestioned integrity.
That's the point. This man is having integrity at all?
Wonderful. We'll come back and discuss integrity soon after this short break. Stay tuned to Newsline. Don't go away.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Welcome back to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street. And joining me this morning is the Executive Director of Cafe, Kirthi Tennakoon. Mr. Kirthi, we have got a message sent to us by one of our, I suppose, must be a committed viewer. Thank you for watching Newsline, and thank you for sending this message. It's a question. Is the subsequent solo meeting with the Prime Minister, with some people, a behind the back move after the joint meeting the previous day? I think the joint meeting is what we
attended, of course. There were 17 people down there at the joint meeting. We have not, I personally, I don't have any idea what the next meeting with the Prime Minister. According to Saman Ratnapriya of the Puravesi Balaya, some 4-5 people has met the Prime Minister separately. It is very interesting. During the President's and the Prime Minister's meeting, Saman Ratnapriya didn't spoke a word about Arjuna Mahendran or the central bank. And then the next day he came up with this story saying that the President agreed on. Actually, it is not the Prime Minister, but it's the President has to have the final saying of this particular issue. In the other hand, why such a cover-up is coming up? Number one, now the Arjuna Mahendran's short term is coming to an end within the next 7 working days, 8 working days for that matter, and now his integrity is under question mark, and it was a legal case pending, and there were so much of other issues. All of about the credibility is lost with this man, and now they are talking about an interim solution, appointing acting
but the Monetary Act doesn't provide.
Monetary Act does not allow such a thing.
It does allow if there is a governor in place and then that governor can't fulfill his duties.
I think
then you can have an acting governor.
I think, I mean, here when it comes to that particular statement by Saman Ratnapriya, I think, I mean, is the Prime Minister, I'm asking, is the Prime Minister already made up his mind to go with the recommendation to the President with this Arjuna Mahendra's name? That's the question. In the other hand, then who will be the acting governor for such a period of time?
The Monetary Act says that if there's when there's a governor and the governor is unable to fulfill his functions, then the person designated as a senior deputy governor.
We are having only 7 days, working days to go ahead with this issue. And in the other hand, why acting is coming on when there are more than 50 people of capable people who is available in Sri Lanka, who will definitely serve the national interest of of Sri Lanka better than Arjuna Mahendran for that matter. And why we are looking for an interim solution? We are having definite solutions for this issue. And don't forget the fact, this man, the central bank governor, is appointed for 6 years, 6 long years, and it expansion is much longer than the President's and the Prime Minister's mandate.
It's so important.
It's so important, and I think we should get a man with the credibility, capacity and professionalism to do such a very responsible and transparent, important way. Don't forget the fact,
man or woman even,
there will be so many choices among these people, and there were 2 other central bank deputy governors to choose out of them, and there were so many other professionals on this caliber. I mean, if we can hire a Singaporean citizen, why can't we look for Sri Lankan citizen?
Or perhaps, what do you think? Will you agree if the President and the Prime Minister tries to approach the outgoing governor of the Reserve Bank of India? How about bringing him here?
His man, he
he's only resigned.
He just resigned,
Yeah.
and his
Well,
issue
he says he's not going to come back for his term ends at 3 years.
I mean, those are those principles. I mean, that Indian issue shows the people's willingness to obey to the demands of the people. And nothing else.
He's actually the thought process is that he is not offering himself for another term because he was criticized by somebody perceived to be close to.
And 2 years ago, he was considered as the star.
That's right.
Yes. Maybe definitely he will perform better than this governor for sure.
But as an activist, basically on various issues, Kirti, don't you think that people who take action it's commendable, but the silence of the people who are able to do something but who don't do it, isn't the silence of greater significance than the people who are actually on the ground doing it?
Definitely. The issue here, the fact what we are experiencing these days is that, I mean, more and more people are coming very openly, which is a very good sign, like what happened during the January 8th last year. The issue here, now we are seeing that unbelievable amount of support when we filed this case yesterday, and that support keep on happening. Even early morning today, we got so many messages, calls, and media is very openly talking about this. And I think the good very good people now start to talk about this issue, and I think if this case further drags on, they will try to act on what they believe.
I'd like to ask the people who we are urging to think again and to assess how well what kind of value they're getting from the vote that they cast. Is your MP delivering upon his promise or her promise to you? Is he accountable? Is he responsible? Think again. Even though there is no election round the corner, you never know when you'll need it. So you need to be on the ball. But in that context, can we urge people who may have some information in connection with the serious concerns at the central bank to get in touch with us, and we of course assure anonymity, but more importantly to do your civic duty.
And one way they can do it is that there's a petition now ongoing against the Arjun Mahendran, the governor of the central bank. You can say no, just adding your signature to the that particular petition, which is thousands of people has done for last 48 hours.
Yeah. There's another viewer who's just sent us a message saying that he wishes Newsline and their guests all the very best in this quest of accountability. So, thank you. Do keep coming. And he says that, here she says this is from Ambalangoda. Right, yes, Ambalangoda. Thank you, Ambalangoda, for doing that. Kirti, how worried should the people of Sri Lanka be that once more, or that there is an attempt to sort of cost them even more money? The first bond and then the second bond, and in between all the bonds, there has been much money that has been squandered. So we are thinking automatically about a wastage of public property. Again, that's a criminal act. It's a non-bailable offence. All these are there, and we are calling you. You've filed action. There's a whole vast vat of people and organizations who are expressing their concern. We've had calls from within the industry, people calling us anonymously and with some fear, justifiable. Within all that ambience, how worried should the people of Sri Lanka be?
I mean, we should understand where all this money is coming from, or all the money is going out. This is the EPF and ETF money, which is belonging to the 2.5 million Sri Lankan workers who, kept their money rupee by rupee, and this money is belonging to the working class of Sri Lanka. In the other hand, when you are making a huge profit, within 48 hours of work, something like 2.7 billion, if you make 1% profit out of that, what more you can imagine. And the other hand, there was so much of unethical exercises happen on the second bond issue. For example, the money was borrowed from central bank itself at a interest rate of 8%, which is yielding at 14% at the end. So
Sounds a pretty good deal to me. You
why
borrow
not?
from 8.
Everyone is for us, is every decent citizen looking for that sort of a fortune? I don't think so. I am doubting that. We are in an ethical society which behave with laws and the practices.
But these brokers and dealers and so on are in it to show a profit.
I have met so many brokers and dealers who are doing with business with some ethics, and we are talking about some brokers and dealers who are dealing without any ethics.
You're saying that they're making too much of money, or?
I think, when it comes to the expertise analysis, so basically they have made 3,000 times higher than the natural profit on this business. So what a crime.
A public interest litigant from the past actually said that he described similar profits in another matter as being whirlwind windfall profits. This to me sounds like that kind of thing.
This is stealing the inside information and nothing else. If they don't have the inside information coming out, you cannot make such a killing.
The governor himself said that he can't agree with that claim. He said that that has to be established. And are you then, as an activist, saying that we want it established, that's why we want a full and proper inquiry, that's why we don't want you appointed until? Are you saying you don't want him appointed until, or are you saying you don't want it appointed full stop?
It's full stop and nothing else. We had enough of this drama for last 17 months, and there's no investigations gone the scale or the credible level which was due. And if the government, president and the prime minister really want a proper investigations on it and cleared his name and come out with as a cleared man, they had enough time. Now what we are talking about, only 7 working days to go.
On that note, Kirthi Tenakon, thank you very much for being on Newsline.
It's a pleasure.
Do come back and see us and keep us abreast of what is happening. In the meantime, if you have any information that can be, could be, may be relevant, remember it may well be relevant. Do contact us. There are various organizations that you can contact, and we'll see what we can collectively do. In the meantime, thank you for watching Newsline. Take care, have a great day, and God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline.